Now, for further analysis on these stories, joining us is Charles Fakroha, iBrandTV's senior analyst. Thank you for joining us, Charles.
Thank you.
Always good to have you on the show.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Well, let's begin with the oil and gas sector. The Nigeria Employers Consultative Association has stated that the country has been losing about $2.5 million. That's on a monthly basis.
Yes.
For failing to meet the 1.8 million barrel per day crude oil production allocation by OPEC. How do you explain this?
So that explains why we are in this condition today. 2.5 billion
million,
okay.
Oh, billion.
It's billion.
Yeah, billion
on
dollars.
a monthly basis. If you do that for 10 months, that's about $25 billion. Then for the year, you know what we are losing. And because of that, you can see how it's affecting our revenue generation. Imagine if we are meeting that our quota, 1.8 million, and we are getting this money. We don't need to be in, we would have been in this mess we find ourselves. And again, I must say it strongly, this is an election year. Who is the current minister for petroleum resources? Is the commander-in-chief. We should hold him accountable because it's his ministry. And if he even has a minister for state, so there are two ministers in that ministry, and we can see what we are losing. Again, the problem we are having is very clear. Revenue that is not coming, we should hold the substantive minister of petroleum and the state minister responsible for this problem, because the box stops on their table. But
you know, you shared some optimism, especially when we got reports that there was a boost in the daily oil production, especially towards the end of 2022.
That's true, yes.
Where we saw it rise to about 1.5 million barrels per day. And then we saw that they attributed that to the recovery of some pipelines that were already reduction in crude oil theft, improved security, the surveillance contract that was awarded to Mpolo and all of that. You expressed optimism.
I agree with that.
So do you still have that optimism that perhaps in the coming months we would be able to meet this OPEC quota?
Yes, I still have that optimism, but at the same time, we want to sound a note of warning to the security agencies, because, and I'm even saying this directly to the commander-in-chief, he is responsible. Now, we have seen this analysis from NECA.
He gave an ultimatum to
he has
the
given,
military.
Yes, he has given the alternative.
Before May 29, he wants oil theft to stop.
Agreed. But we are saying there is one thing for your commanding officer to give order, and another thing for the commanders on ground to implement. So we are still going to hold him responsible, because there are mechanisms in which his officers on ground, the commanders on ground, will be held responsible. And that's why when I think some weeks ago, the last week in December or so, when they were promoting some naval officers, the chief of naval staff told those two star generals, Rear Admiral, that they should not connive with oil theft people. So all these are put in place. We know that, yes, this will go. My fear now is if this security on ground, they get compromised, then we are not able to meet our quota again. There's a problem. Well, thank God, like you said, the security contract, the surveillance with that private security owner, and of course the military and other security agencies, we are seeing that collaboration and we are seeing this result. I want that to continue. However, we don't want a situation where nobody will be held responsible if there is a problem in terms of maybe we are going back to our old ways. People should be held accountable. Whether you are a commanding officer, whether you are a private security owner, we want to ensure that the oil we are producing, we get the maximum revenue from it. I mean, OPEC has been very lenient to us. They've given us this quota. Let us meet our quota.
Well, you know, even the 2023 budget was put at a benchmark of 1.6 million barrels per day for crude oil production.
Exactly.
How do you put that? I want you to put that side by side, this expectation to meet the 1.8 million barrels per day.
Yes, it's always good to be ambitious. The budget is on 1.6 million barrels per day, and we are saying OPEC is telling us do 1.8. Fine, that's good for us, because that's more revenue compared to what the budget is being projected on. So it's good, we'll have excess. But
But doesn't that mean that we're shooting ourselves below par?
No. You are going beyond your quota. Not even
that's
your quota.
If we meet up now.
Yes. The budget is, the budget is 1.6 million barrels per day.
Yes.
And OPEC has given us 1.8. So
but most times, what I'm saying is, most times the budget is usually projected beyond the nation's current capacity. So they're usually optimistic that, okay, we should be able to produce up to this.
Okay.
Because as we speak, we're still at an average of 1.2. So they are saying that
1.6.
we want to put it at 1.6 for 2023 budget. But we know that OPEC has said 1.8. Else this loss of $2.5 billion monthly would continue.
I agree it will continue, but first of all, let us even meet what is projected in the budget. That is 1.6. And if we can go beyond that, kudos to security agencies and all those concerned, NNPC, Naval Forces, everybody is concerned, we're happy. But my fear is, let all those that are involved in securing our pipeline, ensuring that production goes smoothly, let them have Nigeria interest first before their personal interests. Because what we have seen is because people are looking at their own personal interests. Because you cannot tell me they are stealing oil. Oil is not a needle that you cannot even see. They need heavy vessels, pipelines and all that. So
it takes days to load those
vessels. And another issue again, we should go beyond. Who are these buyers? The receiver of a stolen goods is also a thief. So we should also be looking at those international buyers.
But they would claim they never knew it was stolen, that they're just buying.
NNPC has given the conditions. There are certain documents you ask for to know that.
And there are people legalized, companies that you should buy from.
If I am a buyer of those kind of products and I see that those documentations are not there, and of course, you know that those thieves, they want to even sell at a very cheaper rate because they know that these products are stolen.
Of course.
So you as a buyer, you should also raise that red flag and get in touch with Nigerian authorities. At the same time, the naval forces should ensure that anybody that is involved, even within their ranks, should be dealt with accordingly. Enough is enough. For me, this is economic sabotage and it is criminal. So at this time of our nation's development, the time has come where we must stand firm.
So what do you think about the May 29 deadline? Do you think it's possible?
In fact, that deadline should have been given some 4 or 5 years back, not some few years to your tenure.
Yes.
And you are
or months.
Not a few months to your tenure. You are saying May. In fact, we want it beyond that May 29. We want to see that our oil production is at optimal and we get the necessary dividend from our God-given wealth.
Well, the central bank has now moved, to ensure financial inclusion. They've now moved to Wuse market to sensitize the market on the need for financial inclusion and, to boost this cashless policy. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I think that's a very good development. And not only we see they've gone to other markets somewhere in Gombe. I also want them to come to the south, maybe go to somewhere like Oyingbo market, Mile 12 market,
But isn't this putting the cart before the horse? Because the new Naira notes are already out there, and there's a deadline for January 31 for people to return their old notes. We know there are still issues there because a lot of people are saying when they take the old notes to the bank, what they get in return are still the old notes.
Okay, the financial inclusion goes beyond just the old notes or the new notes.
Yeah, but the reason they're doing this, according to them, is because of the fact that these new notes are now are now in town.
Yes.
And they need these people to understand that the need or the essence of this is to also boost cashless policy.
I agree with that. Yes. Well, it's never too late to continuously educate people, create that awareness, and that's what they are doing. Agreed. But again, for me, I think CBN has been too soft in terms of dealing with the banks, the deposit money banks.
How do you mean?
I will tell you that I withdrew from an ATM this morning, and it was the old notes. And I went straight to the banking hall, and I threw the money at their front. I said, I'm not collecting this money because CBN have said you should stuff your ATM with new notes. So why are you giving me this one? And I left. And I left that branch. I won't mention the branch, and I won't mention that bank. Because it's appalling. If the apex regulator have said this is... And they
but what if they don't have the new notes? Because that's what a lot of them are saying.
That should not be my problem. I cannot go to a bank. I return the old notes to them because January 31st. So what happens? And you are still dispensing old notes? No. CBN should begin to...
So how would you go about your daily transactions if you need to use cash?
That is the problem.
You're protesting.
Yes, I'm protesting. Yes, I'm protesting. Yes.
What would you do if, because the situation with every other Nigerian now is that they do not have
the new notes
to the new notes, and the deadline, or what CBN is saying, is that by January 31, we're phasing out all of the old notes.
So,
but we don't have the old notes.
Exactly.
And you were saying that you would not collect the old notes.
I won't collect the old notes. And I gave it back to them.
So if you have any transaction, any, engagement, financial engagement that has to do with using cash, what would you do?
Good. That's a very big question. I would try people to see that I do transfer. But like you said, maybe little 200, 300 naira, maybe you need to pay transport, pay one thing or another. Of course, if I'm doing Uber, is via card or my or transfer. Yes, that is the challenge I am facing today. But again, if it's a price, people like us will pay to ensure that CBN talk to the banks, and if the banks are not dispensing new naira, they should be penalized for it. So when you say mine is a one-man squad, but what I did today, I was satisfied because it's appalling.
Well, penalizing them is one thing, but giving them what they need to enforce.
CBN has told us that they have enough.
Telling us is different from actually giving the banks what they need to do the needful.
That should be between CBN and the banks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Executive Vice Chairman of Chief Executive and of the National Agency of Science and Engineering Infrastructure, Mohammed Haruna, has said President Buhari has approved 24.4 billion naira for the phase 1 of the nation's smart irrigation scheme. Okay. And of course, this is a part of the all-year-round bumper harvest plan.
Yes, this is good in terms of boosting agriculture. Again, borrow from you. It is not just telling us. It's not just talking about it. We want to see implemented. Irrigation farming is not new to Nigeria. People do a lot of irrigation, especially in the north, and there's a lot of money spent on it. We want to begin to see the results. You talk of the multi-farming system there. Yes, because for us to talk about food security, we need to go beyond just ordinary planting. Because
this will be helpful for the dry season farming. I recall that during Akinwumi Adesina's tenure, he was the one who introduced the dry season farming. And
exactly. We have enough technology, mechanization to ensure that all year round we have bumper harvest, so that the products don't become too expensive when it is off harvest period. And when it is harvesting period, you see a lot of the product, and of course, because you don't have that technology, mechanization to store some of these products, they just perish and all that. So we should be on this table.
I hope this is not just throwing money at the problem, and it would actually get the job done.
That's why we are saying that we can feed ourselves. We have the technology. We have all the agricultural institute. But for my problem is, why are we not doing what we can do? The capacity is there. The technology is there. The people are there. The farmers are there. So what is the problem? The problem is Nigerians have decided not to be ethical. That's why I see it. Monies have been disbursed for irrigation. Monies have been given out for mechanization. Then why at the end of the day the actual farmers don't even get it? Even the technology, the knowledge that they need to increase their harvests, there are agencies responsible for that. We should be holding those agencies responsible. I said the time has come where we need to speak out. Now, this thing is recorded. We want to see after some time, maybe 6 months, what is the effect of this policy, mechanization, trying to teach the farmers how to improve their yield.
There should also be transparency, especially with
transparency. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Transparency in terms of how these funds are being used, and let us begin to see the result. Because in terms of food security, Nigeria has no business importing what we are going to eat. Food security is key for any democratic nation.
Indeed. Well, let's talk about the budget deficit under President Buhari, which is set to hit 47.43 trillion naira. That's according to an analysis of the federal government data from the Budget Office of the Federation. Of course, this has been in the offing. I'm sure it's not news to you.
Of course, it's not
as at last year, we were already at 42 trillion naira.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's expected, isn't it?
Yes, it's expected. Again, you know, this is an election period, and I don't envy this current government with this kind of deficits. You know, it's very easy for the opposition party to even use this to campaign against them. And it's obvious, this is data. It's not been manufactured by the media.
But one would even expect it to go higher than this.
Of course, it will go higher than this. Yeah, it will go higher than this. Again, like I said,
because the 2023 budget has a deficit of over 11 trillion.
Exactly, and I'm told it has not been included in this year because we've just started implementing the 2023 Appropriation Act. I don't envy this present government. You know, with less than 5 months to go, you're talking of this kind of deficit. So it's left for the opposition parties to use it as a campaign tool. But that has gone beyond party now.
Shouldn't you pity the incoming government more than the present one because they are leaving office?
I agree, they are leaving. But again, it's a dangerous legacy. The opposition parties that want to get to government now will now say, look at what this government is leaving, you know. But again, and that's why we are taxing all the presidential aspirants. Tell us how we are going to increase our revenue. Tell us how you are going to handle these deficits. Then we will need to see a plan because you need to take Nigeria to the next level. We want to see a country where we're able to pay our debt. I'm not saying pay it once, gradually, not just servicing the interest, paying the debt gradually, and of course, becoming a prosperous, rich, happy nation. Of course, it's a sacrifice all of us have to make. I'm not saying it's just going to be, because it's gone beyond politics. It's gone beyond one party. It is for all Nigerians. If this current government has done what they are supposed to do and we don't have this kind of deficit, of course, the quality of life of the average Nigerian will have been better than what we are seeing today. But again, all Nigerians have to tighten their belts and see that the next government that is coming, we don't allow them to take us to this condition.
It's quite shocking, though, because as of 2016, the budget deficit was at 2.14 trillion naira, and then up until 11.34 trillion naira in 2023. That's a huge margin.
Yeah, so you can see that virtually there's been a problem with our revenue. Revenue kept going down, dwindling, and while the deficit keeps. Of course, if you don't have revenue, how do you finance it? Of course, how do you even service or how do you even finance your budget when you're not getting enough revenue? So it's one part of the equation, which is the revenue side. We have to look at it very well. And at the same time, I'm not only quarreling with borrowing. If you borrow and you use that money for infrastructural project, capital project, not borrowing for recurrent expenditure, borrowing to pay salaries, borrowing to do day-to-day activities. No. Government all over the world borrow money for infrastructural project. And this government has prided itself with saying infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. Yes, agreed. But at the same time, we're not sure all these monies that were borrowed were used judiciously. So we want to see accountability. We want to see that before this government leaves office, of course, the scorecard is there. It's left for the average Nigerian to rate them. And not the government trying to say, we have done enough, we have done this. You cannot be the student and the lecturer at the same time, and the examiner at the same time. Let the average Nigerian examine and see what you have done, and now make their own informed decision. It's as simple as that.
All right, thank you so much. That's a good place to leave it. Very insightful conversation with you as always, Charles Fakroha, iBrandTV senior analyst. Thank you for your time and have a great weekend.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, it will be time to review what happened in the stock market yesterday. Don't go away.